shit and stuff. This dude here. This is a friend of mine.
Yeah, the Choopy.
Yeah. I have another one as well somewhere. Gothic guy. What's the name of that album? Somewhere, but he played Gothic music and so put a CD out and gave it to me too. I could care less about the music and stuff. I just collect these CDs so this fucker will make it big. Hell yeah!
Then let's see, you got
Beach Boys, greatest hits. Oh, I got all of them memorized. That's Copper Label.
Nice.
That's got multiple things. Let's see. Dazed and Confused.
The first one?
Yeah.
Nice.
Bruce and Dunn, Bruce Springsteen. Did it have even the one I liked the best?
Concert, nice.
Does it have it?
Which one are you hoping for?
No. The tape I had way back in the day, Born to the USA.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. This is the Godzilla soundtrack. There's some bad songs on that mother.
Nice.
Last one, it's a Bruce Springsteen. This, I don't even have to pull it out and tell you what it is.
No.
Speedwagon.
Yeah.
Told you.
Ta-da!
Actually, wait a minute. Yeah, that's Speedwagon.
Yeah, that is Speedwagon.
Second decade.
Excellent.
And this is Sleepy Hollow soundtrack.
Tim Burton? Nice.
Yes. From the motion picture.
So how is it? Pretty good?
Yeah, around Halloween time when that motherfucker is drive down the road full blast.
That's the way to do it.
I have other CDs, I haven't got them in here. Shit. Wow, kind of hot. Another sunglasses and shit.
The hell, man.
That's a big issue.
I mean,
Give me this. Why? Because I need that.
yes, exactly. Yeah, you realize how long it's been we've sat here just listening to music?
Shit, I sit up in my driveway up there, but crazy, it ain't this hot either. Listen to the music, getting high all the time, smoking the bitch out. But see, Nelson, the city I live in,
Yeah.
fired its police department.
Oh.
Years ago, we ain't got no police around, so we can get away with that shit. We got county that comes out there on leads are called.
Yeah. Need to call basis, right?
Yeah, and half the neighborhood is on drugs. A regular calculator, not no scientific.
Yeah. Yo, remember how to spell Bosse on a calculator? Let's see.
Let's see, 8, 5, 5, oh wait, nope, 8, 0, 5, 5, 3. Bosse.
Okay. How about hello?
Oh shit, I'll never do that one, but 4, 3, 1, 1, 0.
There you go.
That's a simple one. I don't never use it, but
But it's easy, you know.
oh, that's what I wait to see. So I wanted to see what came out. Check gauges.
There we go. Oh, fudge.
There it went again. Yep. That's what I was waiting to see.
And now our feature presentation.
Warning. This video is a partial parody with mature content. If you're of a sensitive nature, it's highly suggested you choose a different title selection in this playlist.
Uncle Charlie's Storytime will not be seen tonight, so we may bring you this special program. You can catch Uncle Charlie's Storytime next week at its regularly scheduled time.
This is TNN, the Network News.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Brower Hour. I'm your host, William Brower. So, today I do want to do something extra special. So, granted, We all have that one friend in our lives, the one that we always will hang out with, always is a phone call away whenever we need anything, always has a laugh, cup of coffee, a hug, pack of smokes, cold drink, whatever it is. But most importantly of all, is also the same exact friend that 9 times out of 10, you have to pull them off to the side before going to a social event and remind them that please behave themselves while they're at said event. So, with that being said, I want to take this moment to highlight and profile a very, very dear, good friend of mine. And that, of course, is Mr. Chris DeCerbo. So, just to give you a nice, fun little rundown, fortunately, we are of the age that a lot of the stuff that we used to do took place before the advent of the internet, which means, of course, there's no evidence or very little of it. There are photographs, there are VHS tapes, there's even a Betamax tape or two that are floating around somewhere in the attic of one of the houses, not sure exactly where or which or anything like that. But I know at some point it may pop up sooner or later in a digital format. Gut feeling on that one, to say the least. I know it's definitely not in my place, that's for sure. So, what can I say? Well, probably one of the easiest way to summarize it is very simple. For someone such as myself, who has devoted his life developing his craft and his passion, I probably would not have been able to get as far as I have without a lot of simple life lessons learned from Chris. All kidding aside, probably one of the biggest ones that I ever had in terms of advice came from him, of all people. And this is a rare thing, a very ironic thing on multiple levels. And you'll see why in just a moment. But the most prolific bit of advice that he had given me years ago was quite simple. And that was, when you walk into a room, own it. Which is exactly what I have been doing. And yes, knocking on wood, ladies and gentlemen, that has helped to open the doors for myself as a writer and everything else to that effect. Now, here's why I'm saying it's ironic, considering who the source material is in the first place. So, Chris and I go back almost 40 years. It's one of those true friends. For the most part, if you were to know any of our associates or anything like that, they know us more as Doc and Wyatt from Tombstone, and of course the actual Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp, because both of our personalities, me being more on Wyatt's side, the calm, quiet, collect, calculating, logical one. Him, however, outspoken, deep Southern accent, short temper, anger issues, trust issues, limited friends because of said trust issues, attitude problem, just to name the basics. So, understandably, we were a very interesting pair, and it worked wonders. I mean, we did a lot of interesting things over the years. Fortunately, again, before the internet. So, and before even, in certain cases, things that you would have seen later on down the road on Jackass. So, lots of influence in the early days, though. And just to give you just a few ideas, of course, probably one of the best ones, outside of some of us, going out camping, fishing, and everything else deep into the middle of the Everglades, probably came when we were about 16. And we decided to go and see Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So, understandably, me being the history and literature buff, eager to watch it, Alan Rickman as the villain. I mean, come on, you know, was waiting to see if he was going to be doing a different drop up of maybe a mid-century Nakatomi Plaza, but didn't happen. But that's right, still equally a good movie. However, obviously, in the beginning of it, they do have the infamous introduction between Robin and Little John at the falls using the quarterstaff, and Chris, being trained in martial arts, knew how to use them, and so did I, although not with martial arts training, just from practicing with him. So naturally, of course, we decided to replicate that scene in particular in our own variation multiple times. Probably the most outlandish being, of course, instead of over a river, ours was over a canal infested with gators and rattlesnakes. Extra added measures for the adrenaline rush, because at the end of the day, what could be more exciting and what can make it more memorable? Two important questions that he always found ways of always asking and incorporating into something or other over the past 40 years. So, fast forward, a little bit more, and things got wilder. Now why exactly would I go along on some of these things, you would ask? Well, it's very, very simple. And that's something that happened a couple years before the Robin Hood incident. For myself, again, history buff, what can I say? Decided to go and see the film Glory with Matthew Broderick and Denzel Washington, the late Andre Brower, and even Carrie Always. On a personal level, I'm indirect descendant of the gentleman that I decided to go, and Chris wanted to tag along with me, with nothing better to do. And so we saw the film, loved it. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. Excellent soundtrack by the late James Horner and everything else to that effect. But when we were walking home, the movie resonated with Chris on a completely different level. And so it's one of those ones where, we were still hanging out and such, just kind of having some fun. And then all of a sudden, his tone changed. He had a complete shift. And so from there, he decided that, he wanted to take things one step further, because here we were, just a few months shy of getting ready to start high school, next leg of our lives and everything else. And, the importance from the film showing the importance of, brotherhood, both from the military sense and also otherwise, is what made the impact with him. So, that night he suggested that, because of the fact that, the type of bond that we had at that point, he was willing and comfortable enough to share anything and everything with me if needed. And, I with him, as well as, of course, too, whenever he was on one of his binges, if some of his medication was out of whack or things along those lines, I was able to intercept and kind of help calm him and bring him back down to wherever it needed to be. And that was something that he never had forgotten. So he suggested that perhaps maybe we should do something that has not been done very often, and that was to make a blood oath to be brothers and to have each other's back no matter what happens and whatever life throws at us from that point moving forward. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I do still have the scar from that moment as well, too. So yes, we became blood brothers at that point. So, understandably, I have to upgrade his nickname from that point in time. So while everybody else called us Doc and Wyatt, I just called him Crazy, my brother Crazy, because Lord knows so many stories. Some of them are not even friendly for the internet, which is why I am not saying a damn word about it to the full extent. But for the others, I can say this much. Just like anything else, camping trips out in the Everglades, probably one of the most memorable parts was, listening to the soundtrack to The Last of the Mohicans and canoeing down a river, and then realizing the hard way that we got caught in the current, and then taking said canoe straight down a waterfall. Nothing like some real excitement, but to this day, I still cannot listen to the track called Fort Battle off the soundtrack for Last of the Mohicans because that is what we were playing as we were rowing along and kind of rowing to the music, and ended up subsequently riding down the waterfall to that track. So, needless to say, to this day, I still listen to it and laugh at that moment. So, other than that, what else can I say about this strong friendship other than the sheer fact that here we are? I mean, we've endured, we've lasted, we've risen, we've fallen, we've set back a few times, we've even stepped forward a number of times too. And yes, at times, when we stumble hard. Admittedly, to a point where, in Chris's case, and we do still, once again, we do like to joke about it, albeit in the morbid sense, but, in one of some of the darker points, I would end up getting the phone call to try to come and intervene and such by members of authority, be it Leo and things along those lines. Needless to say, because of some of the issues between the high school and stuff like that, it got to a point where I decided to just improvise a little bit. So I decided to go ahead and pick up, from courtesy of the old Army Navy surplus and such, a set of handcuffs and shackles. That would then, in the event of an emergency, if needed, there would be a way of properly restraining. And I always made it an option too. So, yeah. My version of the $10 million question for Chris, which was, which way do you want to handle this one? Kicking and screaming as I haul your ass in chains? Or do you want to walk out peacefully and quietly? Let me know which one. And yes, folks, I still have the keys. So, other than that, I do have some other goodies in store for us on the special profile for the night. So be sure to stay tuned. We do have some special guests that are coming to help wish the birthday boy a very happy birthday right after these messages.
He successfully won the debate on great taste versus less filling beer. He walked among the masses protesting Disney's price increase on everything. Now it's time for William Brower to show you what's in store for 2024. Vote William Brower because an open mind only needs to be filled.
And now for 10 seconds of sex.
Here we go, 10 out of 10 for style, motherfuckers. Oh. That's how it's done, son. Have a good one.
Don't miss Magic Matt's New Year's special. 3 windows for only $19.95. Plus Matt's famous peep-free guarantee.
Wow. Welcome back, everybody. And with us now is Mr. Tony Scorzelli. Tony, like myself, you're one of the few people who have actually made it through Chris's ever shrinking circle of friends over the years.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, he's had a tendency of burning more bridges than building them. We never know why.
And some of them have collapsed.
Yes, that's for sure. But that's the nature of life and time. So, please tell me, what are some of your fondest memories that you remember from Chris?
Well, probably the most thing, the one thing I probably remember the most is the time we actually walked from Terravilla High School all the way down to the Broward Mall off of Broward Boulevard down there. This was back in 1994. I can't remember the reason we did it. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Don't ask me why. But yeah, I remember he said he wanted to go down there and he asked me if I wanted to go along. I said, yeah, sure. And took us about it took us a good about 3 hours to walk down there. And we got down there. I think we went to the record store when we were down there. I remember I bought a T-shirt at Spencer's when we were down there. Um, and then we decided to go home because the mall was getting ready to close. And luckily, we just between the two of us, I had just enough money for a bus ticket because I did not feel like walking another 3 hours to get home. So yeah, so we wound up taking the bus home, and that was probably one of the most outrageous times I had with him.
Oh my God! I mean that's a 20-mile walk one way. So
Yeah.
that's one hell of an exercise routine. I mean, so
Yeah.
impressive.
Now keep in mind though, that was 30 years ago. So I don't think I could do it again.
Well, I don't think you'd really have a need to in any way. So right?
Yeah. No. No, I'm not gonna walk that far anymore. Now another time was we were hanging out at Don Carter's,
Oh yeah.
and apparently he got locked out of his house. His parents were out of town,
It's a running
and
formula.
yeah, so we were hanging out there pretty much all night. And for those of you who don't know, Don Carter's was a bowling alley on Southgate and University Drive. It's changed hands now. What is it called again? I forget the name.
Now it's called Bolarama.
Bolorama. Okay. It was called something else too, but well, back then it was called Don Carter's, and the place was pretty much more of a hangout than it was a bowling alley at the time.
Oh yeah.
And I remember one time we were sitting in the booth, and I could have gone home anytime I wanted to, but I was just there, keeping him company because he really had nowhere to go, and we both fell asleep in the booth, and then probably about 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody walks over to Chris, wakes him up, and says, "Hey, get out of here, you bum! This ain't a hotel."
Busted.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, those were two of the craziest times I had with him.
Well, hey, that's good. I mean, Lord knows. Like I said, I mean, since we're among that small elite circle there,
Yeah.
we have well over 30 years of stories. So
Yeah.
that's what makes things all more fun that way. So I mean, now here comes the fun one. This is put your thinking cap on. This is the psychological
Okay.
time. So, what were your overall impressions when you guys first met? Were you ready to go into that rabbit hole?
Oh, geez. I was not ready to go into that. Let me put it this way. He went beyond my expectations.
Oh yeah, as he normally does.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And
And then now, what do you think by far? I mean, with all these years and all these memories, what's the one that stands out the most? That kind of seems to resonate with you the most? Was it the walking incident, or
yeah, I would have to say it was the walking. There was another time me and him walked also. It was late at night. Um, this was probably we were walking. It must have been about 11 o'clock at night or so. Neither one of us had a car. Um, and we ran into another guy that he knew. I don't remember what this guy's name was. It was some guy. He had long hair. I didn't know who he was, but apparently Chris knew him. And somehow Chris thought there was a party going on somewhere.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he said that there was a party going on at some girl's house over in Eagle Trace. All
Oh,
right.
Lord.
Yeah. So, and at the time we were on University Drive. So the three of us, me, Chris, and this other guy, I don't remember the other guy's name because I haven't seen that guy since this happened. But we three of us wound up walking down to Eagle. We were on University Drive at the time. We walked down Southgate, and then we started walking north towards Eagle Trace. All right.
Okay.
And apparently, when we got there, we couldn't get in, and uh, so apparently, Chris said he was going to try to sneak in somehow, and surprisingly enough, he got in.
Yeah,
And
that doesn't surprise
yeah,
me.
and it turns out there was no party going on at that house.
Oh, God. Oh,
Turned out there was
yeah.
nothing going on.
Well, you see, I mean, sometimes you gotta do the research ahead of time. That's all.
Yeah.
But that definitely does not surprise me. I mean,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
Lord knows. I mean, just a couple years from that point is when he started, really pushing the boundary and stuff.
yeah. Well, there was another incident that I knew about that I wasn't involved in, but it was an incident that involved Chris and our former administrator of ours named Miss Good.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
that one.
yeah. So, well, Miss Good had this car that was do you remember what kind of car that was? It was a
Yeah, it was a BMW Beamer convertible.
BMW Beamer. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. She always had the top down, and apparently Chris decided to relieve himself inside her car one day.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's no
Yeah.
surprise.
So yeah.
I mean,
Uh, I wasn't there when it happened, but but that was yeah, that's another Chris story that we heard.
I mean, but that is no surprise. I mean, the Lord knows he had so much disdain for authority,
Yeah.
such a short temper. I mean, practically almost anything would set him off in either direction. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with her.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, but I mean, she got on the nerves of a lot of the student bodies. So,
Yeah.
That part's no surprise.
Yeah.
So, but yes, as the fun anecdote and footnote to that story, shortly after that incident, Miss Good always made it a point to put the roof of her car up in
Yeah.
upright position.
Yeah. The top of her car pretty much stayed up afterwards.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a couple run-ins with her too, and there were run-ins with stuff that I wasn't even involved in.
Well, you see, that's why that's called guilty by association.
Yeah.
So, yes, I mean, Lord knows,
Yeah.
from
I
1990,
mean,
from 1994 to 1997,
yeah.
Anytime that I'd bump into a police officer or a sheriff's officer, they'd always look at me and say, "Do you know anybody by the name of Chris?"
Yeah.
And I would be like, "Well, I know a lot of Chris's. Which one are you thinking of?"
Yeah. I mean, there were a couple of times I got called up to the office for something that he did when I wasn't around.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, so it was like I said, it was guilty by association.
Yep.
Yeah. Chris, apparently, yeah, Miss Good, I'd be sitting in class and Miss Good would send for me and I'd go up there and she said, "Okay, do you know what Chris did?" And I'm like, no, I wasn't there. I was sitting in class when this happened. So, apparently, I just said, "Listen, I had nothing to do with this."
Well, I mean, that's why what you should have done was made it really simple. I mean, after the first time, and you know right off the bat, there was always going to be a repeat moment.
Yeah.
At some point within the course of that year, as soon as you heard your name getting called, you should have just walked in there and just said, okay, what did he do this time?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, I didn't say that, but the minute I got called out of class, I already knew what it was about. Okay, I was like, okay, Chris did something else.
Yep, here it comes.
Yeah. Let me go find out what he did.
Yeah. No, we don't know where he is. No, we haven't seen him all day.
Yeah.
Yes, we have his phone number. No, he's not home. What else would you like to know? So, in that case, Mr. Scorzelli, should Chris actually be watching this and stuff?
Oh yes.
What would you like to tell him? What would you like to share with him and our audience?
Well, I'd like to say a very happy birthday to him. We haven't seen each other in a very long time. And if he's welcome to get in contact with me anytime he wants. And hopefully, of course, I doubt this, but I think well, for what you told me, his insanity level has not really improved much.
No, he is still as crazy as he was back in the day. But
yeah, and he even and I wish him luck hunting his mythical creatures and.
Yeah, I mean, we can always hope, see what happens. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe sometime we'll see him on the news, and we'll just be like, oh wow, okay.
I'm expecting it.
Yeah, I think we all are at some point. So
I'm expecting it. One day.
Oh yeah. We'll keep the champagne.
And it's got to be something outrageous. Obviously.
Well, of course. I mean, this is Chris that we're talking about. Yep. So, if it's not outrageous, then that's not even in his middle name.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, definitely, Tony Scorzelli, everybody, thank you so much for coming on.
You're very welcome.
So, great. Well, we'll be back again after these messages, and stay tuned.
Bye, everyone.
I'm looking for a new read.
I've got just a title. This will blow your mind and knock your socks off.
Musings and Amusings. I like the homage to the real genius on the cover. Now, just please tell me there aren't any sparkling vampires or sadistic businessmen in there.
Not quite.
So what's it about?
It's where the lines of reality and insanity blur in the middle.
Who said that?
My inner critic. He gets really excited about new book titles.
That happen often?
Yep. You should hear him at the bookstore.
There's a couple of stories in it. Which one's your favorite?
A recluse living in the mountains is forced to face their fears when an unscheduled delivery arrives in the package.
And which one do you like?
You know how I love motivational pieces, so naturally I have to go with an event of titanic proportion.
Yeah, of course you would. You sold me. Where can I get a copy?
Musings and Amusings is available exclusively on Smashwords.
Okay, that's enough.
That's smashwords.com, right?
There we go. Oh, yes, that's definitely right, folks. True to word, everything else. Chris, being the brother that he is, had my back, had my six, as they say, and such. And pretty good track record, all things considered. 3 psychotic ex-girlfriends, 2 gang issues, and 1 stalker. So not too shabby, but what better way of saying very happy birthday and wrapping up tonight's show than by showing a moment of sheer and absolute reflection. And so, in true to form on multiple levels, what better way of doing it than just by very simply sharing a nice little piece that actually became the foundation and the basis of my first published book entirely. And this was actually a farewell letter that was written exactly 30 years ago, right after we graduated high school, as Chris prepared to move up to Georgia. So, on that note, folks, I say very much so good night. Have a pleasant tomorrow. Happy New Year. May you achieve all your dreams and goals. Chris, very happy birthday. And just for sheer old time's sake, because of the simple fact that, in your letter that you gave me at graduation, on your end, when you told me to go out and become the writer that you have all known me to be, I've done so. I've done it, and I will keep doing it. And I will see you at the reunion very soon. Take care, folks. Toodles.
History has known many interesting. For the 20th century, we have two more names added into this roster: Chris and I. We met in elementary school, while I used to spend recess reading books until my teachers grew concerned with my lack of social skills. Chris approached me one day, and behind the portables we began a downward descent into craziness with a simple game of Texas Hold 'em on school property. As our bond grew, we began to spend weekends together as well. Our version of roughhousing was a different style as we built a fort in the local city park. We used an army survival guide to dig the ground out and fortify the interior using she wood. The interior was decorated with the images of a Jolly Roger, a Confederate flag, and the Anarchy sign, all of which were signs of rebellion. Other weekend ventures at the time included exploring the lakes and rivers around the state. It generally started with a canoe sitting near the embankment, filled with a first aid kit and rations. The rest we left to nature and the elements. On one of these little trips we had gone deep into the Everglades, and after rowing for a few hours had come upon the outskirts of the Miccosukee Indian Reservation. When the reservation police arrived, I was introduced to what would become a regular scenario between Chris and I. He pulled out a bag of food and extended it to the officer. "Me, Chris, I bring gifts from the great chief of the West and wish to trade them for traveling through your land," he said before leaning over to me and whispering in my ear. "It's okay, I read about this in my history class, and this is how you speak with them." I handed my wallet to the officer and said loud, "They speak and understand English. They've spoken the language for 200 years, dummy." We returned home later that afternoon laughing about our little adventure. One of Chris's views on life was to live on the edge. Without regrets, soon our adventures bordered stupidity. We used to fence using practice swords while standing on a sewer pipe that hung over canals filled with alligators, race our bicycles, and jump a small ramp with a fire below. Tape bottle rockets together, forming massive fireworks by tying the fuses into one. Things that the average person wouldn't dream of doing. By 8th grade, we were close friends until one night we were gathered for movie night and took our bond to an entire new level. Both of us were history buffs, and so we picked the film Glory, a true story of the 1st Colored Regiment in the Civil War, and also one of my ancestors. Chris was quiet by the end of the movie as we sat in our bunker at the park. Suddenly he looked up with a glimmer in his eyes and said, "You have been a great friend to me. I think of you more as a brother, but there is only one thing that separates us. That movie reminds me of us, the two friends who look after each other in the height of battle." I joked about the scenario and asked him, "Does this mean like the movie you want me to lead a charge and get killed in a hail of gunfire?" His one-word answer sealed the kidding aside. No. Minutes later, he pulled his pocket knife out and gave a serious tone for the first time ever. "I suggest we make a blood oath to have each other's back like brothers. Are you with me?" he asked while making a small cut across his palm. I answered the offer, and so at that moment we became blood brothers. Little did I know that our battlefield would be the halls of high school.